with red-hot stories from post-game. Interviews, analysis, debate, the hour. Right here at the Growler.
All right, welcome into the latest edition of the Walkout, presented by Cincy Shirts. Paul Daner Jr., Jay Morrison, here with you from inside of Paycor Stadium on a day where it did not go well for the home team again. They moved to 0-4 on the season at home, and they lose in demoralizing fashion to the Philadelphia Eagles, 37-17. Jay, this is a day that was supposed to be about learning about who the Bengals are this year. We're entering this part of the season where you say, we kind of know who you are. Yeah. And this season to this point had been very weird in terms of schedule, in terms of excuses, in terms of good teams and bad teams that they were on their schedule. This was a team that was a great measuring stick, barometers. We're going to pull out the compass. We're going to all of these things we were going to do, and we're going to learn some truth about the Cincinnati Bengals today. The truth is, they're not very good.
Exactly.
They're not very good. And that is a really tough pill to swallow right now for a Cincinnati Bengals team that has Joe Burrow, that has Jamar Chase, that had thought that they set themselves up for a Super Bowl run. It is really hard to see anything like that coming. Super Bowl run? How about just digging out of the abyss? That feels like it's not going to happen in any way, shape, or form.
No, you said it. We learned a lot about this team today, and it is. It's that this is who they are, and not just this year, but I mean, think about it. T shows up as a surprise limit on Friday. He's inactive today. If that's what this offense and this run game is going to look like with only Jamar as a top receiver, yeah, it's not a good look. And I do think that the offense can show some improvement. You get T back, I think it's going to look a little different. This defense is what this defense is. That was what we were waiting on. All the excuses, they didn't have guys healthy, they got everybody back, they play a good team. That's what it looked like. Just a really, really poor performance and kind of a white flag waving performance on the whiteout day. There was not a lot of want to and grit at the end of that fourth quarter.
There was a lot of riding the escalator in the fourth quarter, which was an all too familiar. I got to tell you, I've been covering this team for a long time. I've seen a lot of demoralizing losses when everyone realizes the team is bad over the course of the years. Boy, it looked a lot like that. Yeah. When you just get bullied in those end drives and just get beat up, just run the ball down your throat to end the game, a stupid turnover, the other team's dancing in your end zone, everyone's going down the escalator sad. It's like, boy, this is all too familiar, and one that just seems like you have to start asking, what is the way out? How is there a way out? We're going to ask those questions, and we're going to remind you, the Walkout presented by our good friends at Cincy Shirts. Make sure you go and use GrowlerPod at cincyshirts.com. You get 10% off everything you buy there with that. Not just going and buying any Cincinnati football merchandise or maybe a Growl Pal shirt like so many people did at our live show. Awesome. No, it was great to have everybody down there at our live show. But, you can get anything you want to there. It doesn't have to just be, maybe you're in a bad place. You can go get some Cincinnati Reds gear or anybody else. It's all there for you. Make sure you go to cincyshirts.com. More on them later. Also, thanks again to everybody that came down to BetMGM Nation Kitchen and Bar at the Bank. Such a fun time down there. Thanks again to Tim Crumry for coming down.
He's great.
Who told the most badass story I have ever heard from someone in person. And I was just truly almost speechless by it. So incredible, Tim Crumry, stopping by. All of you that came down. Man, it was so much fun down there. Appreciate everybody coming down to BetMGM Nation Kitchen and Bar down at the Bank. Such a great venue. We had a great time. Thanks to everybody for coming down to the show.
Bengals are 0-2 on days we have live shows, but don't blame that on us.
No, hey, it's really anything that happens behind us. Yeah. Throw in preseason 0-6.
Yeah.
What was it Lou Anarumo said this week? He wants to sing the song in their new locker room, the chant in their new locker room.
Not yet.
No, a somber locker room after this one, as you might imagine, because it was just it really felt like this was a realization setting in for them as well. And that was kind of the point. My column that's up on The Athletic now, just about sort of the truth that they told, what today kind of said, what it spoke about this team. I had one question I kind of wanted to go around the locker room and specifically ask to a couple of people. And so I did, and it was basically like, given the way this went and the general result, what do you make of this as far as what it says about who this team is right now in the big picture of their season? And I just want to bring you a few answers that we heard on that one, if I can find it here. Okay, so it's going to be Zach Taylor, and then it's going to be Mike Hilton, and then it's going to be Joe Burrow answering that exact question.
What do you feel like today's result and the way it went says about your team and where you guys are at in your season in terms of the ability to dig out of this thing?
Yeah, I don't think it's indicative of what we are as a team, because I think the score is going to reflect differently than how I feel about our guys and what opportunities we're going to be able to capitalize on. It's a disappointing day. There's no running from that. But I felt good coming into halftime that we were going to find a way to win this game. And second half, and it starts with the fourth down. They score a touchdown, and we come out and go for it on fourth down. We don't get it, and that's heavy on my mind, the entire game. And so I think anytime that happens, and I make a decision like that, it doesn't go your way, you're sick to your stomach about it. Still felt like we were going to have opportunity, and again, then you get a tip to pick, and all of a sudden they run away with the momentum. So unfortunate. Again, what I just told the team is we're in a hole that I believe we can dig ourselves out of. And we're just going to have to find a way to do that.
Mike, what do you think today's result and just the way that it went says about this team and where you guys are at as far as being able to dig out of this hole right now?
I mean, we can play with anybody. We just got to find ways to close the games out. We went into halftime feeling good, like where we were, and we knew we were going to come out the second half and be able to compete, but we didn't make plays when we needed to, didn't get off the field when we needed to, and came back and bit us in the ass.
So what do you feel like today and the result, the way it went down, says about your guys' team and where you guys are at in terms of an ability to dig out of this hole right now?
We're not good enough. We're not good enough. So we got to get better.
We're not good enough. Joe Burrow said it as plain as day. We're not good enough. And, it was followed with, we need to be better, and he believes that it's doable. At one point, Joe Burrow was doing the math out loud. In the press conference room, he said, well, you got to get to 10, so we just got to win 7 of 9. That's doable. And I feel like you could almost feel him thinking inside of his own head right there. He's trying to talk himself into it. That's doable? That's doable right now? I mean, they don't have a single win against a decent opponent this year. Yeah. You're not going to keep playing Carolina. You're not going to keep playing the Browns. You get them one more time, but apparently Jameis Winston can turn them into a functioning offense. You just don't have these opponents. You have to be better. They're not good enough. And they're not good enough for a number of reasons. They thought they built a team that could make a run. They built a team that's putting too much on their quarterback right now. Yeah. They're asking him to do absolutely everything. Let's count the ways, Jay. Shall we count the ways that this team is putting too much on Joe Burrow? How about a non-existent run game? I mean, just totally non-existent. A long of 5 from Chase Brown and Zach Moss in this one. They combined for, I think I have 17 carries, the two of them for 17 carries, like 43 yards. I mean, just nothing from your running game. Okay, that's part of it. No T. Higgins, all right? He's got the quad. That stinks, but also part of the T. Higgins experience a little bit at this point, right? So no T. Higgins. You're relying on Jamar Chase so much. How about no defense that can stop anybody? Constantly making you feel like you have to make every play. You feel the pressure to make everything. How about some play calls that put you in a bad spot? Yeah. 4th down play call. We'll get more into that in a second. Puts you in a terrible spot because it's not getting the job done. How about Evan McPherson missing field goals so you can't even get points out of the drives that you do make? All of the 3rd and long over and over again. Look, there's only so many 3rd and 22 Joe Burrow, miracles that can be worked. There's only so many fishes and loaves, people. Like, you can't keep asking that. And they're just asking so much out of Joe right now. And it's exposed when you don't have T. Welcome to what life in the future looks like without T. Higgins, by the way. And it just puts so much on Joe, and you're asking too much, and you end up with a forced throw. You can feel the impatience in the room with the fourth down call and the throw and all of that, and then it just unravels on you. And that's the same feeling that you felt in that game. I feel like you're feeling that about their season right now.
Yeah, if this game goes a different way and they're not putting everything on Joe Burrow, I don't think he throws that ball down the sideline to Jamar. That was oh crap, we're down by 10. We have to make something happen. And yeah, you get the one-on-one coverage, and you do like that matchup a lot of the times, but the safety was shaded that way. Jamar wasn't that open. Yes, a great play to tip it to Chauncey Gardner-Johnson to get the interception, but he doesn't make that throw. If this is a close game, or if they've got a balanced offense, or if the defense is getting any semblance of a pass rush, or they're making field goals, all the things you just mentioned, he feels like the entire team is on his shoulders. He's trying to make things happen that aren't there, and that was a big interception, a big play in the game.
No doubt about it. Speaking of big plays today, I just have this marked down as, quote, the sequence. So we're calling this the sequence, which is, you're down by 7. You are driving. You're in your own 39. Yeah. It's the end of the third quarter. You've been matching them to this point, right? But Philly has scored touchdowns on 3 straight drives. So again, that impatience is showing up. You're on your own 39. It's 3rd and 1. They run Zach Moss up the middle for zilch. Can't do it. If this is familiar, that's because it should be. Again, Bengals short yardage continues to be a thing that they're just unable to get some of those tough yards. Puts them into a 4th and 1 from their 39. Zach Taylor opts to go for it. Don't hate the call, the decision there. Went back and checked the 4th down decision bot. They had a plus 5.1% probability, very strong go rate. Again, think about the nature of how this game is being played out. You need touchdowns to match, because you can't really say we're going to play field position and defense in this game. You're not stopping anything. Don't hate that. The play call is just wretched, and it just seems like we see this. This is repetitive, man. Like, this felt repetitive.
We saw it coming.
Yeah.
As soon as Chase went in motion, you knew the play that was coming. The Eagles obviously knew the play was coming. I will say, though, that sequence was a little bit longer than even you're letting on. Go back and think. First down, Joe Burrow scrambles for 8 yards, their longest run of the entire game.
Yep.
You're in 2nd and 2. What do? They run, and they get 1 yard. 1 yard, everybody's right there. Get back, go for 3rd and 1. No. They don't break the huddle till there's less than 10 seconds left on the play clock, and they have to burn a timeout in a situation where you think you're going to need them, and then they come out of the timeout, 3rd and 1 call. That's the run up the middle for 0. And then the 4th down pass, I get it, but why not have Chase get to the marker and then break it out? And that way, if he gets tackled as soon as he catches it, you get the first down. Why throw it to him 4 yards behind the line of scrimmage? Why not have at least one blocker out there to take care of the 2 Eagles defenders? It was Jamar against 2 Eagles defenders. There was not a single Bengal out there to do any kind of blocking on that play. It was just, and Zach knew it. He took ownership, and I don't think it was lip service. I think he really did realize that was a crappy call in that situation.
Take the portion of the playbook that has that double back and forth motion and fire it to the sun. Be done with it. I feel like we've seen it multiple times, and also reminiscent of the opener against New England, throwing behind the sticks on a critical 4th down. Did the Andre Yosevich in that game, and he couldn't get up there. They are so successful when Joe is able to process and find the open guy and make a throw. To throw behind the sticks like that on a 4th down, it just doesn't make sense, and you continue to see them do that and struggle with it. You talked to Jamar Chase, you were wondering, well, what is Jamar Chase going to have to say about this? Here's Jamar Chase after the game on that play.
It didn't look like the 4th and 1 had much of a chance. As soon as you got the ball out there, there's a bunch of defenders waiting on you.
Yeah. Just random call who I wish we could have took back and probably changed it to something else, but they called it, and, happened.
You like that? Going forward in that spot, is that you want to be aggressive there?
I don't mind being aggressive, just, what I'm saying? Just, they was on it.
Yeah.
At 3 and 5, Zach said that he still believes his team can dig itself out of this hole. Do you still believe in this group?
Yeah, we good. We still good. We ain't worrying about outsiders. We good right now. We lost, but we're going to move forward.
Sorry. Are the emotions, is it disappointment? Is it anger? Is it frustration? Or what are you feeling right now?
We lost.
So there's Jamar Chase on play. I mean, Jay, you were there. Jamar ended up talking the same time that Joe Burrow was going, so it wasn't a huge crowd, but you were there. I mean, it's like paint the facial expressions for people that weren't there in that, in seeing that as far as what he had to say.
Yeah, you could just tell it was straight face. There wasn't, he does make some funny expressions sometimes. He is very emotive, but it was a very straightforward expression on his face. And I wish we could have had it back and called something different. Said he loved, obviously you guys heard it. He loved being aggressive there and going for it, but not that play. And he just didn't at the end. How it ends there, where are you angry, frustrated, disappointed? We lost.
Yeah,
same thing. We lost again.
I'm curious what the rest of the year, if it doesn't get better, is going to sound like from Jamar Chase. And he's never been in that situation as a player. We have heard them when they're losing, he's the one. He's the one that you hear from that voices his frustration, that has enough clout to do so where it matters. For the most part, their locker room is filled with a lot of say the right thing guys. I get curious of what happens when Jamar starts to get unhappy, if this thing starts to go sideways. There's a lot on the line for the rest of this season of them trying to figure out a way out of it. But what it does for the psyche of Jamar Chase, who already obviously has been not super thrilled with some of the ongoings of the organization, shall we say, this year, and what that ends up looking like going forward.
Yeah, and Mike Hilton today too. He said something's got to change.
Yeah,
and Ben Beatty followed up and said, "What has to change?" And then he went into the more of the cliche and the coach being just got to be better, got to get off the field on third downs, all those kind of things. But you can feel the frustration bubbling. This was a game, not just a game that they lost, but the way they lost. And I think the realities, the way it's setting in for us, the way it's setting in for all the fans out there, it's setting in for the players too, that this is not a very good team.
What is going to change? Like, what do you mean something? What? What is going to change? They're healthy now.
Yeah.
They played a team that was good. Their defense got absolutely run. Shall I go through the possession sheet here? Hold on. Let me pour through here. Let's go find the possession.
There was that one punt they forced.
Oh yeah, what a great series that was. I mean, this defense, it just looks like this anytime they have played an offense with any bite to it, they have been swallowed whole. It is, let's see, they go field goal, punt, touchdown, 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 field goal, touchdown, field goal. You have 4 drives of more than 60 yards for points. You have,
3 double-digit drives.
You have no turnovers forced, 1 punt forced. You don't do, and there's a lot that went on. Nothing really went right in this second half. They should have had a bigger lead in the first half. You end up, you give them the sandwich touchdowns on both ends of halftime. You can't even get a stop there to give some time for your defense or for your offense to come in and try to pull something out in the last minute before halftime. They have no pass rush at all. They not only no sacks. Sacks can be a bit of a disclaimer. Hey, sacks not always the biggest thing. No sacks. One time they got even a hit on Jalen Hurts. He had 4.5 seconds, still with no one near him, mind you, to launch that 45-yard touchdown pass to Devonta Smith. Trey Hendrickson got run on the Anderson Ferry over to Kentucky by Fred Johnson, 14 yards behind the line of scrimmage. Sam Hubbard got stood up by a tight end one-on-one right in front of Hurts for that entire time. They had everybody back.
Yeah.
And this is a fine Eagles offensive line, but they were down people.
Yeah.
And there just was none of it there. So that progress you thought you made defensively the last 2 weeks sure feels like a product of Daniel Jones and Deshaun Watson and the Giants and the Browns right now.
Yeah, just third down after third down after third down. Their whole mission this week was not to get into 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2 because the tush push is so effective, and they did it. They put Philadelphia in long situations. They converted a 3rd and 16. I went back and looked. So currently, this doesn't include the 4 o'clock games. They are giving up third down conversions 45.3% of the time. That ranks 26th in the league. this is pretty consistent, and yet this is the worst they've been, even going back to the 19 season, the 20 season. Last year, 40.8. The year before, 39.6. Super Bowl year, 41.6. 2020, 43.3. Last year, 42.6. It's the same year after year after year. You can make up for that when other parts are working. Nothing else is working right now. And I mean, to give up 45.3% of your third downs, you can't win like that.
You have 3rd and 16 with the Eagles in scoring territory, and A.J. Brown just runs to the marker and turns around.
The zone, just sits down in the middle of the zone, nobody anywhere near him.
And Jalen Hurts with plenty of time to fire a strike right to him, and he is able to fall backwards to the thing.
Yeah.
I mean, that there's just no way that anything like that should happen. And so, but again, we see it happen over and over again. I mean, go back to the Washington game, to the Baltimore game, to all of these, we see it over and over and over again, that these defenses that have a few playmakers and have the ability to make some plays are always making the plays. And now you've got these, again, another game where you give up 30-plus points. And I don't know, something's got to change. I don't know what changed. I don't see where you can even build. Before, at least, you could build some sort of a separate timeline where the defensive line gets healthy, comes back, is disruptive, and is a solid group, right? They're back.
Yeah.
And they were not disruptive or doing much of anything. And for as much as they did a fine job bottling up Saquon Barkley through certainly the first half, when it came time to them needing to slow it down in the second half to just try to get a punt or something, to get the ball back to the offense when you're down by 2 scores and you're just trying to run it out. No, they could. That's when he starts running it up on you,
Right.
And you end up with just the bullying, demoralizing drive. And you have Saquon Barkley finishes for 4.9 yards per lug, 22 for 108, a long of 19. Kind of the opposite of what they've been. They've been very explosive, reliant in the running game. They were just consistent in this one. I mean, that drive, and you end up, go back to the possession sheet that no one wants to look at anymore. But, you're talking about at the end, 12 plays, 85 yards, and then they just bullied into the end zone. It was almost all on the ground. That is just absolutely brutal stuff, without question. All right. Have we belabored the point yet? People are like, I'm not listening anymore, Paul and Jay. Like, this is too dark. You've gone to the dark place. I think they have, on Whiteout Day, they have taken everyone to the dark place, oddly enough, because it feels like it's hard to see the way out. And they've been, people will say, look, they've been in this type of spot before, right? Like, I go back to, if you're trying to figure out anything here, they lose to Cleveland, get hammered by Cleveland mid-season, right? In the Super Bowl season, they're 5-4. Everyone's freaking out. They go into a bye week, and they come out of that, and they do kind of put a run together and make a run. Okay, everybody's pointing out how tough their schedule was going to be in 2022. They were again in this 5-4. They'd had a couple losses that they had the Halloween night in Cleveland, oddly enough, and everyone's saying Cheeto goes down, ACL, they're screwed, right? And they end up putting a run together. This just doesn't feel like that.
No.
And I don't know if we go back, and I think you could go back and probably listen to some pods that we did after those games, and maybe it sounded a lot like this one does, but I just don't feel like we see as many of the answers in front of us as we felt like we saw back then.
No, back then things need to change, but they were little things, and they were changeable. Now I don't know that the answers, any of it is actually out there.
Yeah. Well, I do want to tell everybody, go to cincyshirts.com. If you don't want to get a Cincinnati football shirt, that's fine. You don't have to do that. You know what you can do? You can get a Growl Pal shirt because you still got love for us. We felt the love today. It was great to see so many people down at the live show. And we had a bunch of the Growl Pal shirts. We're going to keep giving those away. We gave away a Graders shipper pack, which was awesome. So ice cream and Growl Pal shirts, we still love that. So you can go to Cincy Shirts, buy one of those, and use Growler Pod, and you can get 10% off. All right, Jay, we should probably just let people go to bed and sleep it off at this point. We're not going to stop, though. we're going to keep bringing you everything. There's plenty of fallout coming from this. We'll have you back on Balds on Tuesday, and we'll be talking a little bit more about everything that goes there. It is Marvin Lewis week.
Can't lose to the Raiders.
Can't. What if Marvin Lewis comes in
Talk
here
about a dark day.
and puts you down to the low spot? Well, at some point they have to win a game at home, don't they?
You would think.
Don't they? Guess we'll find out. Thanks everybody for listening. Thanks everybody that came down to the live show. Thanks everybody that's going to Cincy shirts and buying some stuff there. Y'all are the best. It's been so great having you guys come down to the live shows and hang out and say hi. And we will talk to you on Tuesday. Have a good one.